How many of you today read the verses that I said last time? Everybody did? What verses did you all read? Huh? 2 to? Well, thank you very much. We're only going to do chapter 1, verse 2 and 3 today. But I want you all to understand something very carefully as I'm going to share a secret of mine with you. I've been studying the Bhagavad Gita pretty much on and off since I was about 6, 7 years old. I did my Upnayana Sanskar when I was 4.5 years old. But I've actually really been studying the Bhagavad Gita for the last 9 years prior to this last 3 years, so about, I'd say about 12, 13 years now. And to study it from the beginning to end the first time, it took me 9 years to study it. I'm not talking about reading it, I'm talking about studying it. So I know I told you to study and read verse 2 to 22 for today. But we're not going to finish chapter 1. And we might get through to chapter 1 by the end of this year. If you really want to study the Bhagavad Gita. And I suspect a few of you that are here are true devotees of Krishna, and you really want to learn and get the knowledge that's within these pages. So I can rush through the verses, we can chant them, and we can get through the whole Gita by the end of next month. Or we can take it and get into the depth of the knowledge of the Gita and finish chapter 1 by the end, hopefully by the end of the year. It's a long haul. If you want to study with me, I'd be more than happy to study with you. But it's not going to take a year or 2 years. It's going to take a lifetime together to study the knowledge that's within the Bhagavad Gita. But I promise you one thing. By the time we get to end of chapter 1, which is, I believe, 47 verses, you would have learned so much more about the Bhagavad Gita that you didn't even realize. And then we will start with the actual Bhagavad Gita, with verse 1 of chapter 2. However, I want you all to make one promise to me and commit to something to me. Even though we're doing 1 verse or 2 verses per week when we get together, I ask you all to chant 1 chapter per week from me. 1 chapter per week. I just want you to read the verses. I don't want you to study them. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to chant the verses. And as you chant the verses, contemplate upon Bhagavan Sri Krishna. If you would do that, my dear devotees, your knowledge, your spiritual knowledge will advance so rapidly that depending on how much devotion you put into it when you're chanting the verses, you'll exceed everyone in this room, including myself. So I ask you, if you can make a commitment to me that you will chant 1 chapter per week, which is nothing. If you can do more, do it. But do it by contemplating Krishna, nothing else. Just chant 1 chapter per week. We spoke last week about verse 1. And we got into the depth of what it meant. And about the blindness of Raja Dashrath and what it signifies. I want you all to think as we are studying the Gita, not as you're chanting the Gita. As you're chanting the verses, I want you to contemplate on what? On Krishna. As we are studying the Gita, I want you to think As I mentioned last week, I compared Kurukshetra, the battlefield, with what? The body. I compared the 5 horses with the senses. I compared the intellect with Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And I went on and compared everything. Arjuna as the mind. And we went on and compared and broke it down about what every part of the battlefield, how it relates to our body, right? So as we studied the Gita, I want you to think of everything that we do, and I'm going to relate it back to the human body for the benefit of advancement of yourself. Because if you can relate it to who you are and the significance of what it means, apart from the historical aspect of that really happened in India, but we also want to look at the metaphorical aspect of it, of how it relates to our body, our senses, and our psychology, and how we can enhance ourselves as human beings. So that's what I want you to think about, and that's how we're going to relate to the Gita and study the Gita. And we are really going to get into the depth of the Gita and what it really means. So, starting with that, let us meditate as we read verse 2, chapter 1, verse 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sri Sanjay Vacha Drishva tu Pandavanikam Vyudam Durdyotanastada Acharyam Upasamgamya Rajavachanam Abravir. Would somebody like to read the transliteration of that for me?
Sanjay Vacha. Now seeing the Pandava army arrayed properly, the prince Duryodhana drew near his preceptor Drona and spoke these words.
This is interesting. So, if one person who's not ready and who's not prepared, you notice all of you here? You came for a reason, right? It wasn't for the puja itself. What was the reason? So we can educate each other, right? For the knowledge of the Gita. So God grant you that permission today. So you can have this ability to learn. This is what we call true Krishna Bhakti. Is who's able to come and participate.